you beautiful entrepreneurs. Welcome to another episode of Practical Money Magic with me, your host, Audrey. This is literally my third time trying to record this, so we'll see how it goes. Boy, technology, man, done is better than perfect. So today I want to talk about, along those lines, is prioritizing discipline over skills. I'm not someone that necessarily believes in pushing consistency because anytime, at least me as a human, I try and add consistency to things, it almost inevitably fails, my whether that's self-sabotaging or just how my brain works or anything in between. I haven't figured that out, but the consistency side is not something that I'm always excellent at when I'm trying to implement a new skill or a new habit. I can do it for like 2 weeks and I'm like, great, I did it every day. Beyond that, I'm like, I did it, I'm done. That wasn't fun. That wasn't okay. Or sometimes I can get 30 days, sometimes longer, and then I'm just like, I'm done. So all of this is to say that the discipline is more important than the skill. And all of that was just kind of more real talk about just life and being an entrepreneur and trying to navigate these things. For me, like the push for social media as a business owner, like to do the social media, do the podcast, do the Facebook lives, do the Instagram lives, do the LinkedIn, do the what else is there? The Twitter, the club face. I don't know. Um, there's just so many things in all of the places, and then do your newsletter and do that 3 times a week, along with all of the other things. Y'all, it gets somehow in there. You're supposed to also create things for your dream and your vision while also doing your back end, while also promoting and marketing and selling. Well, I guess the marketing, that's all of everything I said, but it's incredibly overwhelming. And this is why I don't believe in cookie cutter solutions, because yes, they can absolutely work. Absolutely, like they can. There's a clear framework. There are people that succeed through that framework. That's amazing. And I'm not diminishing that at all. I'm saying that that framework won't always work for everyone. And trying to push certain things isn't what's going to get there, in my perspective. And everyone's going to be different in that, and that's okay. So I see it more as discipline, because when you are putting in the discipline to take the steps, that is more powerful because you're also putting belief in yourself, which is essential as a business owner. You need to have the belief in yourself to be able to see and hold your vision, because no one else is going to do that for you. There are some people out there that will, and those they are unicorns all in themselves. And I'm so grateful that I've had a couple of those in my life. Looking at you, Joellen. But so I am so grateful for those that have held visions for me. And I know that not everyone has that. So, what it really takes to lead when you don't have that is discipline. And that doesn't always have to look like consistency. Discipline is getting back to it when you no longer have that, you didn't hold that consistency. And that's why it's important to put discipline over the skill, because when you're holding so much weight in the skill, you are not always allowing yourself the mistakes that you have to get through to get to that skill level to effortlessly produce what you're trying to get at. So since this is a finance podcast, let's take finances for an example. I have in high school, I took the two accounting classes that were available to me and the one personal finance class. So I took anything that was available to me. I had a, or I have an associate's in business, a bachelor's in finance, and when I graduated in 2007, I've worked in bookkeeping or accounting in some form ever since. So that's 15 years, 17 years. So it's been a long time. It's a skill, and it also takes a lot of experience to get to that skill level. And what that took was discipline. Anytime I made a mistake, I got right back up. And first of all, I admit to my mistakes. Ask any one of my clients, if I make a mistake, even if they don't catch it, or I know they never will, because a lot of people avoid their finances and like, and I try to get them to come back and be like, okay, but I need you to pay attention to this. But even if they're never going to notice, I tell them because I know how long lasting, like how impactful these mistakes can be. And it's very important as the leader to be aware of those. So as other things start coming up, you're able to better navigate. Because also at the same time, like if I am making, not that I do, but like let's say I'm a bookkeeper and I'm making 12 mistakes a month that you're catching, even though you're not somebody who's necessarily financially savvy, that is something to start considering, because then you need to talk to me as the bookkeeper to be like, so what are these mistakes and why are they happening? Because it might be a lack of communication. Like maybe they thought you said that it needs to be office supplies when it's really supplies and materials. It's a nuanced difference, but it is a difference. And just how you want it categorized and how it's just supposed to be. So you're like, why do you keep categorizing it this way? So that could be a communication or a training thing. It could be that they're saying that they have more experience and knowledge than they do. That unfortunately does happen. And we are in a society that pushes that, because which is why I'm so adamant about talking about your mistakes and being very open about what you can and cannot do. I will be the first one to say, I don't know. And I will also be the first person to be like, okay, I will reach out to the IRS, the Department of Labor, the unemployment department, the whoever I need to reach out to figure it out. Or let me research that and I get into the IRS website or whatever the situation warrants to build the understanding of what needs to take place in order to move forward and the options available. There is so much nuance to business, like endless nuance, and every state is painfully different, which is obnoxious all in itself. But that's when like knowledge is important and skill is important, but you as the owner don't necessarily need those things. You need the discipline until you can gain the skill. The skill is learned. It's learned through experience, it's learned through education, and you can't do that until you get in there and do it. I can read a book all day long about accounting. It won't mean shit until I get into QuickBooks. And it didn't. I had the T charts all in the books. I actually still have my accounting books. Nerd alert. So all this is just to say that wherever you're at, know that it's okay. And take that next step. Learn that new skill, but with discipline instead of the skill in mind, because you're going to mess up and it won't always be right, especially if you're trying to dabble in your books. accounting is almost counterintuitive sometimes. And I'm not saying it makes sense when you just like look at it. It's not just one of those, I see it, I understand it, let's go. It is something that takes a lot more refined skill. But take those baby steps and start being like, okay, what does this line mean? What does this button do? How can I learn more about what this section is? And just slowly start taking that. Or better yet, I want to do this. How do I make this possible? And that is also very valid. You don't have to know all the steps to get there. You just like, okay, this is kind of what I want to do. How do I get here? And I have incredible clients that do that too. They're like, I'm looking for this. Where do I find that? And then I just direct them on where to go. And I love that. I am here for self-reliance and self-education, and not necessarily self-education, but self-empowerment. Self-education is absolutely fantastic too. It's just with accounting in particular, be careful who you follow and get advice from. I will say that. So if anything, always with anything across the board, make sure that you're talking to a professional that knows the whole scope of your information and your situation so that the advice can be more accurate. There's a million nuances that will change at an instant and be like, okay, no, that actually means over here. We need to do this instead. And there's just so much nuance. And as a small business owner, it's very hard to understand, know, learn it, even where you're at to be able to begin to know how to get that information that's best for you. That is a skill that is learned through discipline. That was a pretty little bow I just did right there. I'm pretty proud of that. Evidently, I'm improving my podcast skills. That was I don't know. I'm not good at the ego side of things. I'm trying it out. Tell me how you think or what you think. But that's what I have for today. And please let me know, where did you start? Where are you starting? Because I want to celebrate you. No matter where you're starting, it is an incredible place to get that first step so that you can then take your second step. And everyone's going to be different and everyone's needs are going to be different. And the more we talk about it, the more it helps more people to be able to understand what their next steps are. Because there are people that might know their first steps, but they don't know their second steps. But no, having that somebody talk about their second steps or what they just did will help somebody come in that had no idea what their first step should be to be able to take that first step. And I think that's the beauty of it all, is the more we talk about it and the more we open up this conversation, we can get more advice and good advice, and people can start knowing what they need to take, what action they need to take to get on the path to success. So, as always, I'm Audrey, your friendly money lady. Plant the seed of success and watch yourself bloom, baby.